The alarm did not sound loud. It did not need to. Every species inside orbital station Kethvar felt it. The humans had arrived. The docking corridor lights dimmed to neutral white. Atmospheric balance adjusted. Security drones hovered in silent formation. Inside the observation chamber, 14 alien representatives watched the main screen. The image showed a single Terran shuttle approaching the station. Small, unarmed, civilian markings. That did not calm them. "Confirm classification," the insectoid delegate asked. The AI responded. "Species, human. Origin, Earth. Category, Deathworld evolved. Psychological profile, highly adaptive. Emotional volatility detected." A low vibration passed through the chamber. Fear. The airlock opened. 3 humans stepped inside. No armor, no visible weapons. They walked upright, balanced, relaxed. 2 relaxed. The tall one in front scanned the corridor. Then he did something that tightened every defensive nerve in the room. He made direct eye contact with the security drone, and he smiled. He showed teeth. In the chamber, several delegates recoiled. "Display aggression marker," one whispered. "No weapon drawn," another replied. The AI processed the facial scan. Human expression categorized as friendly greeting. Silence filled the chamber. The reptilian ambassador leaned forward. Predators bare teeth before they strike. The humans moved toward the reception platform. Their footsteps were heavy, controlled, measured. Each step carried weight, not just physical weight, presence. The security chief, Commander Veltor, stood at the entrance hall with a squad behind him. He observed the Terran leader carefully. Heart rate stable, breathing steady, no pheromone spike indicating attack, but the eyes, focused, alert, reading everything. Veltor felt exposed. The human stopped 2 meters away. He placed one open hand over his chest, a slow gesture, non-threatening. "My name is Elias Ward," he said calmly. "We thank you for allowing us to dock." His voice carried low resonance, deep, grounded. Veltor analyzed tone. No tremor, no dominance growl, no fear scent, only calm. This unsettled him more. Behind the ambassador, a second human adjusted a small device on her wrist. She leaned toward the third human and whispered something. They laughed softly. The sound echoed in the metallic corridor. Several guards flinched. "Why do they vocalize during tension?" a delegate asked from the chamber feed. "Unknown," replied the AI. Then it happened. A junior technician from Veltor's species stumbled while repositioning equipment. He fell hard. His outer plating cracked. A sharp chemical scent filled the corridor. Pain signal. Every alien guard stepped back instantly. Instinct. Injury meant vulnerability. Vulnerability meant danger. But the humans did not retreat. The female Terran moved first. She knelt beside the fallen technician, slowly, deliberately. "Easy," she said softly. She removed a compact medical scanner from her belt. Veltor raised a hand. "Do not approach." Too late. The human was already scanning the injury. "No hostile action," the AI confirmed. The Terran looked up at Veltor. "He will lose fluid pressure if this fracture spreads. May I assist?" Veltor hesitated. Predators exploit weakness. Predators claim the injured. But the human's posture was strange, protective, not possessive. He gave a small nod. The human applied a stabilizing sealant from her kit. Precise movements, careful pressure. The technician's distress signals decreased. Within moments, his breathing normalized. The human remained beside him until medical staff arrived.
She stepped back only after confirming stability. No demand, no request for reward. In the observation chamber, silence deepened. "They advanced toward wounded prey," one delegate murmured. "And did not consume advantage," another added. Commander Veltor kept watching the Terran ambassador. Elias Ward had not moved during the incident. He simply observed, calm, measured. Then he did something even more confusing. He crouched slightly to meet the technician's eye level. He lowered his gaze, submission gesture. In many species, lowering gaze meant acknowledgement of vulnerability. "Rest," Ward said gently. Veltor's internal sensors spiked. Predators did not lower themselves before prey. Back in the chamber, the council erupted in quiet debate. Perhaps deception, perhaps long strategy, perhaps conditioning behavior. The AI interrupted. Cross-reference historical human behavior. Data streams filled the holographic table. Human disaster relief operations, human medical volunteers in war zones, human soldiers carrying wounded enemies, humans crying beside fallen allies. A pattern emerged. "They bond with weakness," the AI concluded. The reptilian ambassador hissed softly. "That is illogical." The humans were escorted to the central chamber. As they entered, every delegate studied them closely. Muscle density high, bone density extreme, reflex speed above galactic average. Deathworld traits. But their eyes moved differently, not scanning for threat alone, scanning faces, reading reactions, interpreting fear. Ambassador Ward stopped in the center of the chamber. He looked at each delegate one by one, direct eye contact again. Several felt instinctive panic. Then he smiled once more, teeth visible, but slower this time, softer. "I understand," he said quietly. "You are afraid of us." Shock rippled through the chamber. He continued, "We were afraid too, the first time we looked into space." No challenge in his voice, no pride, only honesty. Commander Veltor felt something unfamiliar. Not dominance, not intimidation. Recognition. The human was not hiding strength. He was acknowledging fear. Shared fear. That was new. That was dangerous. Because fear created distance, but shared fear created connection. In the upper observation deck, one final analysis came through. Veltor read it carefully. Conclusion: humans do not suppress emotional signals during tension. They project them intentionally. He narrowed his eyes. "They are not hunting us," he whispered. A pause. Then his final realization formed. "They are studying us."
Orbital Station Kethvar did not sleep. It rotated in silence above a gas giant, wrapped in layers of defense grids and sensor nets. Every movement inside the station was tracked, especially the humans. Ambassador Elias Ward stood at the transparent observation wall. Below him, the storm bands of the planet twisted in violent spirals. Commander Veltor approached slowly. "You requested private dialogue," Veltor said. Ward nodded. "Yes, I believe we misunderstand each other." Veltor studied him carefully. Humans used words like tools, but they also used silence. Ward turned to face him fully. "When your technician fell yesterday," Veltor said, "your guards stepped back." "Yes," Veltor replied. "Injury invites escalation." Ward shook his head slightly. "For us, injury invites protection." Veltor's breathing shifted. Two species, two opposite instincts. Hours later, tension inside the station spiked. A transport shuttle from the outer docking ring malfunctioned during re-entry. It collided with a maintenance strut. 3 crew members injured, 1 critical.
The species was Threxian. High neural sensitivity, low pain tolerance, rigid social hierarchy. Their delegation immediately sealed their sector. No outsiders permitted, including humans. Inside the Threxian chamber, chaos spread. Their injured officer emitted sharp distress pulses, pain signals amplified through shared neural field. Other Threxians recoiled physically, empathic overload. They could feel his suffering, and it destabilized them. Their chief medical officer hesitated. If she connected to him directly, she would absorb the shock fully. She risked neurological collapse. Outside the sealed sector, Ambassador Ward received the update. He listened quietly. Then he made a decision. "Request entry," he told his aide. Veltor stared at him. "They will refuse." "Ask anyway." Permission was denied. Ward walked toward the sealed hatch regardless. Veltor blocked his path. "This is not your conflict." Ward met his gaze. "If he dies, it becomes everyone's conflict." Silence. Veltor hesitated. Then he signaled override access. The hatch opened. The Threxians reacted immediately. Alarm tones, defense stances, neural spikes. "Predator intrusion," one shouted. Ward stepped forward alone. No guards, no weapons, hands visible. "I am not here to threaten," he said calmly. "I am here to help your officer." The Threxian medical chief trembled. "You cannot withstand his pain field." Ward nodded. "You're right. I cannot feel it the way you do." That confused them. He continued, "But I can carry part of the burden physically." He knelt beside the injured officer. The Threxian's body convulsed with neural shock. Ward removed his gloves, placed his bare hand on the injured officer's armored shoulder. The chamber gasped. Direct contact. Madness. Pain monitors spiked, but not in Ward, in the Threxians watching. Their neural field began to stabilize. The injured officer's breathing slowed. Ward spoke softly. "You're not alone." Simple words, no complex diplomacy, no strategic demand, just presence. The Threxian medical chief stared in disbelief. "Your nervous system, it does not mirror his suffering." Ward shook his head. "It hurts differently for us." He did not elaborate. Human pain was internal, compartmentalized. They could witness suffering without collapsing. They could endure exposure. That was a Deathworld trait. Minutes passed. The injured officer stabilized enough for surgical intervention. The Threxian medical team regained control. Ward stood slowly. His hand trembled slightly. He hid it quickly. Veltor noticed. So did the Threxian chief. "You experienced distress," she observed. "Yes," Ward answered. "Yet you remained." "Yes." "Why?" Ward looked at the injured officer. "Because he was afraid." In the observation chamber, the council replayed the footage repeatedly. A predator entered a sealed chamber, approached vulnerability, touched weakness, and did not exploit it. The data analysts struggled. "This behavior reduces their immediate tactical advantage," one said. "Correct," replied the AI. "Then why?" Another data stream appeared. Human history records. Hospitals in war zones. Humans shielding strangers during disasters. Rescue workers entering collapsing buildings. Pattern confirmed. They moved toward danger if someone else was suffering, not away from it. Commander Veltor requested direct access to Ward later that cycle. "You risked diplomatic collapse," Veltor said. "Yes." "You risked your life." "Yes." "You risked nothing in return." Ward looked at him steadily. "You're wrong." Veltor narrowed his eyes. "What did you gain?" Ward answered without hesitation. Trust. Veltor felt a cold shift in his internal pore. Trust. That was not a short-term weapon. That was a long-term strategy. Across the station, Threxian delegates met privately. Their injured officer survived, not because of superior technology, not because of force, because a human stayed when their own empathy overwhelmed them. Their neurofield recorded Ward's calm presence. It imprinted memory, stability, association. Human equals grounding. Back in the council chamber, debate intensified. They weaponize emotional projection, one delegate argued. They disarm through vulnerability, another said. They convert fear into dependency. The AI processed all variables. New classification suggestion appeared on the holographic table. Update. Human threat category shifting from predator to psychological influence species. Veltor stared at the label. This was worse. Predators attack. Psychological influence reshapes. That cycle ended with an unexpected request. The Threxian delegation formally invited human medical specialists to consult on neural stabilization research. Voluntary cooperation, no coercion, no demand. The first official joint initiative. Signed, quietly, without announcement. Later, Veltor reviewed the station security feed alone. He paused on the moment Ward placed his bare hand on the injured officer. There was no calculation in his eyes, no hunger, only intent. Veltor whispered to himself, "They do not hide their emotions." He paused again. "They deploy them." The lights dimmed across orbital station Kethvar, but something had shifted permanently. Fear had not vanished. It had changed shape. And for the first time, alien delegates began to ask a new question. If humans could endure pain without collapsing, what else could they endure?
The emergency transmission arrived without warning. It cut through every diplomatic channel on orbital station Kethvar. Signal origin, Threxian Outer Mining Colony 7. Status, under attack. Unknown hostile vessels. Defense grid collapsing. The council chamber froze. For several seconds, no one spoke. Then, panic spread. The Threxian delegation activated secure channels. Military command nodes lit across the holotable. Damage estimates scrolled in red. Civilian population 48,000. Evacuation capacity 12%. Time to structural failure 43 minutes. Commander Veltor turned toward Ambassador Ward. The human was already moving. Earth's diplomatic shuttle detached within minutes. No formal vote, no treaty clause invoked. Veltor intercepted Ward in the docking corridor. "You have no military authority here," Veltor said sharply. Ward nodded. "I know. You are not obligated to respond." "I know. Then why deploy?" Ward secured his harness. "Because they asked for help." "They broadcast a general distress signal," Veltor corrected. Ward looked at him. "That is asking." The human shuttle entered slip transit before most council fleets even mobilized. Inside the bridge, there were no war chants, no battle speeches, just coordination. "Evac Proglol first," Ward ordered. "Civilians over infrastructure." A human pilot glanced back. "Unknown enemy class. Could be trap." Ward answered calmly. "If it is, we still extract civilians." No hesitation. Mining Colony 7 came into view. 3 hostile cruisers circled the fractured asteroid station. Energy lances struck its surface repeatedly. Sections vented atmosphere into space. Emergency beacons blinked weakly. The humans did not open fire immediately. They broadcast instead. "Unidentified vessels. This is Terran Shuttle Aurora. We are conducting civilian evacuation." The enemy ships ignored them. Another strike hit the colony's residential dome. Ward's jaw tightened. Deploy shield screens. Move in. The human shuttle cut between the hostile cruisers and the colony. Shield flares ignited. Impact waves rattled the hull. Inside the mining station, Threxian civilians clustered in panic. Their neural fields vibrated with terror. Human boarding teams entered through a damaged docking arm. They moved fast, disciplined, efficient, but not aggressive. "Follow my voice," a human medic called. Threxians hesitated. Predator species inside their corridors. Fear spiked in. Then something unexpected happened. One human soldier removed his helmet, exposed face, direct eye contact. He knelt to lower his height. Slow movements. "You're safe," he said steadily. His voice carried through translation nodes. The neural panic field began to shift, not vanish, stabilize. Back on Keithvar, the council watched in stunned silence. "They are inside active combat zone," one delegate whispered. "Without territorial claim," another added. Veltor leaned forward. The humans were not targeting the hostile ships first. They were forming evacuation corridors. They positioned themselves physically between civilians and incoming fire. They absorbed impact, voluntarily. On the surface, a Threxian child froze in a damaged corridor. Explosive decompression alarms screamed. The human soldier who had removed his helmet reached out slowly. The Threxian child's neural spikes surged. Predator proximity. The soldier did not grab. He extended his hand, palm open. The same gesture from first contact. "Look at me," he said softly. The child focused. Breathing slowed. Neural overload reduced. The soldier lifted the child carefully and moved toward extraction point. The hostile cruisers adjusted tactics. They redirected fire toward the human shuttle. Direct hits. Hull integrity dropping. "Ambassador," the pilot called, "we cannot sustain this." Ward looked at the evacuation counter. Remaining civilians, 19,400. "Continue," he said. "We are not fully equipped for extended combat. We are not here to win combat." Another blast rocked the ship. Something shifted in the enemy formation. One cruiser pulled back slightly. Their sensors registered unusual data. Humans are shielding non-allied civilians. They are not retaliating proportionally. They are not exploiting Threxian vulnerability. They are risking loss without gain. That pattern confused their tactical algorithms. Evacuation reached critical mass. Human shuttle overloaded capacity. Standing room only. Medical bays filled. Threxian civilians pressed against human soldiers. No restraints, no containment fields. And something else happened. The Threxian neural field began to synchronize with human emotional patterns. Calm, focused urgency, determination. Their fear dampened. Final extraction signal triggered. Ward transmitted once more to the hostile cruisers. "You achieved nothing here," he said evenly. "We will remember this." No threat tone, no rage, just certainty. Then the shuttle jumped to slip transit. Back at Keithvar, emergency teams received the evacuees. The council chamber erupted in debate. They intervened without mandate. They exposed strategic weakness. They demonstrated combat resilience beyond projection. Veltor remained silent. He reviewed the footage of the helmet removal again. A predator exposing its most vulnerable point in a combat zone, for a child not of its species. Hours later, Threxian High Command requested emergency session. Their lead delegate spoke without ceremony. Human intervention reduced civilian casualty rate by 81%. Silence filled the chamber. "We acknowledge strategic debt." The word echoed. Debt. That carried weight in galactic politics. Ambassador Ward responded calmly. No debt, shared survival. The Threxian delegates studied him carefully. You risked destruction for us. Ward answered simply. You would have done the same. The chamber remained quiet. They knew that was not entirely true. After the session, Veltor confronted Ward privately. You altered the balance, Veltor said. Yes, you gained leverage. Ward shook his head. I gained understanding. Veltor narrowed his eyes. You knew the council was watching. Yes, you performed compassion under observation. Ward met his gaze directly. I performed survival. For them, for all of us. Veltor walked alone through the observation corridor. The gas giant storms churned below. He reviewed the strategic outcomes. Humans now held informal loyalty from the Threxians, without conquest, without treaty manipulation, without coercion. They had executed something new, not a military strike, not a political maneuver, a sympathy strike, targeting fear itself. In the Council's secure archive, classification shifted again. Human species update. High resilience, high adaptability, high emotional projection, capable of alliance generation under crisis conditions. Veltor stared at the final analysis line. Humans convert shared suffering into long-term strategic bonds. He exhaled slowly. Predators conquer through fear. Humans conquer through protection. And protection built something stronger than control. It built loyalty. Fade to black.
The rescue of Mining Colony 7 changed the temperature of the galaxy. Not loudly, not publicly, but quietly, in private chambers and encrypted channels. The Threxians no longer referred to humans as predators. They used a new term, unstable stabilizers. They did not understand it, but they felt it. 3 cycles after the attack, the Galactic Council convened an emergency summit on Kethvar. Topic: expansion of Terran diplomatic privileges. Several species opposed it. They manipulate emotional leverage, argued the Corthan representative. They create dependency, added another. They embed themselves inside crisis. Commander Veltor listened carefully. He did not defend the humans. He did not attack them either. He observed, as always. Ambassador Elias Ward stood alone at the center platform. No guards, no projected data walls behind him, just a single device in his hand. I have not come to request authority, Ward began. I have come to show you something. The chamber dimmed. The device activated. Images appeared. Not of alien battles, not of Threxian rescues, of Earth. The first image showed ruined cities, smoke rising from collapsed buildings, human soldiers carrying wounded civilians. Alien delegates leaned forward. Is this an external invasion? One asked. Ward answered calmly. No, this was us. Next image, a global war. Humans fighting humans. Millions dead. The chamber went silent. You broadcast your weakness? A delegate whispered. Yes, Ward replied. We were not always united. More images. Pandemics, natural disasters, political collapse, human failure, human error, human cruelty. Ward did not edit it. He did not soften it. Veltor studied the reactions across the chamber. Confusion, discomfort, shock. Predators did not expose scars. Predators projected dominance. Ward continued. We learned something from surviving ourselves. The image shifted. Humans rebuilding cities. Former enemies signing peace accords. International rescue teams crossing borders. We are strong because we are not perfect, Ward said. We are strong because we recover. A murmur spread through the delegates. One of the elder species representatives spoke. You admit internal collapse. You admit past aggression. Why reveal this? Ward's answer came without delay. Because you are afraid we will turn on you. The chamber froze.
You classify us as Deathworld predators. You believe empathy is camouflage. No denial, no hostility. Here is the truth, Ward said quietly. We know what fear does to a civilization. We have lived it. Veltor felt something shift in his core logic. This was not dominance. This was not negotiation. This was exposure, strategic exposure. Ward lowered the device. We are capable of destruction. So are you. He paused. But we are also capable of restraint. We had to learn it. The Corthan delegate hissed softly. And if we reject your alliance? Ward nodded slightly. Then we continue to assist when crisis strikes. That answer unsettled them more than any threat. A junior delegate spoke hesitantly. Why? Ward met his gaze. Because survival is cooperative. Isolation collapses eventually. He did not frame it as moral superiority. He framed it as pattern recognition. Deathworld logic. On Earth, extinction waited for species that failed to adapt. Adaptation required cooperation, even between rivals. The chamber entered recess. Private species meetings initiated. Veltor requested audience with Ward again. You revealed internal wars. You exposed flaws that could be exploited. Ward nodded. Yes. You trust us not to weaponize that information? Ward looked toward the gas giant through the chamber window. No, he answered honestly. Veltor blinked. No? No. No species fully trusts another, Ward said, but someone has to lower the shield first. Veltor absorbed that. Lowering shields voluntarily, not as surrender, as invitation. Elsewhere, the Threxian delegation debated intensely. Humans are unstable. Yes. They admit internal violence. Yes. They also admit regret. Silence. Regret was rare in galactic politics. Most species erased past failures from record. Humans archived them, studied them, broadcast them. That transparency destabilized traditional power structures. Back in the council chamber, session resumed. The Corthan delegate delivered a formal challenge. If humans value cooperation, share something tangible. Ward inclined his head. We will share terraforming data for hostile environments. Gasps. That technology is strategic advantage, one delegate said sharply. Yes, Ward agreed. And we will share it. Without exclusive trade agreement? Yes. Veltor realized what was happening. Humans were trading advantage for integration. They were making themselves harder to isolate. The more they shared, the more others relied on shared systems, mutual dependence. A final question came from the elder species. What do humans want in return? Ward answered simply, participation. Define participation. Stand with us when the next threat comes. The wording was careful. Not demand, not obligation, shared stance. The vote did not conclude that cycle, but something irreversible happened. The narrative changed. Humans were no longer just resilient predators. They were self-aware, self-critical, strategically vulnerable. Veltor reviewed the session logs alone afterwards. He replayed Ward's admission of Earth's wars. No pride, no denial, just acknowledgement. He understood then. This was not weakness. This was confidence so deep it did not fear exposure. Late in the cycle, a secure message arrived from the Threxian High Command. Proposal: Joint Neural Stabilization Research Facility. Location: Shared Territory. Administration: Multi-species. Lead consultant requested: Human delegation. Veltor stared at the message. They were not just accepting aid, they were inviting integration. Ward entered the observation corridor quietly. You anticipated this, Veltor said. Yes. You calculated vulnerability as leverage? Ward shook his head slightly. Not leverage, signal. Signal of what? Ward looked at the storm below. That we are not hiding. Veltor considered the implications. Predators hid strength. Prey hid weakness. Humans displayed both, openly. And that transparency was destabilizing centuries of alien doctrine. In the Council archive, classification updated again. Human species profile, high resilience, high empathy projection, willingness to expose internal weakness, capable of trust acceleration. Veltor read the final assessment line slowly. Humans initiate alliance through controlled vulnerability. He closed the file. The galaxy had feared human aggression. Now it faced something far more complex, a species strong enough to admit fault and bold enough to invite others closer.
The threat did not come from within. It came from the dark between systems. Unknown fleet signatures. No communication response. No political demands. They struck outer trade lanes first, silent, efficient, erasing colonies in hours. The first confirmed loss belonged to the Korthan Empire. Irony did not escape the Council. The same empire that resisted human expansion now faced extinction. Emergency session activated across the Galactic Council. Damage projections scrolled endlessly. The unknown fleet used adaptive shielding, energy weapons ineffective, standard tactics failing. Evacuation requests flooded the network. Veltor studied the data. Then he looked at Ambassador Ward. The human was already standing. "We deploy," Ward said. Several delegates reacted immediately. "You are not primary target. You have no defense treaty with Korthan. You gain nothing from intervention." Ward responded calmly. "Incorrect." Silence fell. "We gain stability." The human fleet that arrived was not the largest, not the most advanced, but it was coordinated. Transport carriers, medical frigates, engineering vessels, not pure warships. The Korthan High Command hesitated before granting docking rights. Their pride resisted, but their casualties forced consent. On the shattered surface of Korthan Prime Colony, human engineers moved fast. They reinforced failing atmospheric domes. They restored power grids. They evacuated injured civilians. No territorial claim flags raised. No contract terms presented. Just action. Korthan soldiers watched in disbelief. Predator species stabilizing their infrastructure without demand. The unknown fleet returned, this time targeting orbital command. Human tactical units positioned between the enemy and civilian zones. "Ambassador," a human admiral transmitted. "Direct engagement probability low success." Ward answered from Kethvar. "Delay them. Protect evacuation corridors." The objective was not victory, it was preservation. In council chambers, alien representatives observed live combat feeds. Human vessels absorbed heavy fire. They did not pursue retreating enemy units aggressively. They focused on extraction. Shield failures registered, hull breaches reported, yet evacuation numbers climbed steadily. Veltor turned to the Korthan delegate. "Your empire previously opposed Terran integration." The delegate's voice was tight. "Yes." "To will that position continue?" The Korthan did not answer immediately. Instead, he watched a human frigate intercept an enemy strike aimed at a civilian convoy. The human ship lost propulsion. It drifted, damaged, but the convoy survived. The Korthan finally spoke. "They prioritize life over dominance." Veltor nodded. "They always have." The tide shifted not through firepower, but through coordination. Human analysts identified weaknesses in the unknown fleet's energy cycle. They shared that data instantly. No encryption barriers, no proprietary restrictions. Joint fleets adapted together.
For the first time, multiple species fought as synchronized units. The unknown fleet withdrew, not destroyed, but repelled. After the battle, casualty reports circulated. Human losses significant. Corfan losses reduced by 63% compared to initial projection. Council silence carried weight. Ward addressed the emergency session. "We do not request repayment." The Corthan delegate interrupted. "You will receive it." Ward shook his head. "What we request is continuity." "Define continuity," the delegate demanded. "Shared defense framework, shared research, shared communication protocols. Integration, not control." Veltor realized the scale of what had happened. Humans did not conquer territory, they occupied trust. Every crisis intervention expanded their influence organically. Other species now associate human presence with survival, not domination. That association was irreversible. Private sessions began immediately after the battle. The Corthan High Council voted internally. Recognition of humanity as strategic ally. Unanimous. The announcement stunned the chamber. Veltor studied Ward's reaction. No triumph, no visible satisfaction, just quiet acknowledgement. Later, in the observation corridor, Veltor confronted Ward again. "You predicted the Corthan reversal." "Yes." "You understood that compassion generates political capital." Ward looked at the gas giant below. "It generates stability." "You lost ships." "Yes." "You lost lives." Ward's expression hardened slightly. "Yes." "And still you intervene." Ward met Veltor's gaze directly. "If we only help when convenient, it stops being help." Veltor processed that slowly. This was not impulsive empathy, it was disciplined, structured, sustained, a long strategy built on consistency. Across the council network, data analysts revised human classification once more. Previous categories: predator, psychological influence species, strategic vulnerability user. New designation emerged: alliance catalyst. Definition: species capable of converting crisis intervention into long-term political integration. Veltor read the final analysis line carefully. Human presence statistically reduces interspecies conflict probability over time. He leaned back. The galaxy had spent centuries building deterrence through fear. Humans were building deterrence through cooperation. Weeks later, the first draft of a unified defense accord circulated. Multi-species fleets, shared intelligence systems, joint training programs. Humans did not lead the document, they co-authored it. Subtle, intentional, power without centralization. In a final private exchange before the formal signing, the Corthan delegate addressed Ward directly. "We misjudged you." Ward responded quietly, "Yes." "You are dangerous." Ward did not deny it. "Yes, but not in the way we believed." Ward allowed a small, controlled smile. "Correct." Veltor stood alone after the chamber emptied. He reviewed the chain of events: a fall in a corridor, a shared rescue, an exposed history, a defended colony. Each act built incrementally. No sudden domination, no single conquest, just steady conversion of fear into loyalty. He whispered to himself, "They are not the strongest fleet." He paused. "They are the strongest influence."
The Unified Defense Accord was signed in silence. No celebration, no triumphant broadcasts, just signatures. Species that once avoided direct eye contact now stood side by side. Threxian, Corthan, Veltor's own people, and humans. The galaxy did not become peaceful overnight. Threats still emerged from deep space. Border conflicts still flared. Old mistrusts did not disappear. But something fundamental had shifted. When crisis signals activated now, they did not trigger isolation. They triggered coordination. And more often than not, a human voice answered first. Months after the accord, a remote agricultural world reported atmospheric collapse. Before the Council even convened, a joint fleet was already in motion. Threxian neural stabilizers, Corthan heavy shield carriers, human engineering cruisers. No command struggle, no dominance negotiation. Procedures had been standardized, shared systems deployed. Evacuation success rate, 94%. Vel-Tor reviewed the statistics personally. Conflict probability across member species had decreased by a measurable margin. Trade routes stabilized. Joint research outputs increased. Trust, once theoretical, now had data. In a private strategic briefing, a younger delegate asked Vel-Tor directly, "Why did it work?" Vel-Tor did not answer immediately. He replayed archived footage, the fall in the corridor, the mining colony rescue, the exposure of Earth's past, the defense of Corthan Prime. "It worked," Vel-Tor said finally, "because humans acted the same way every time." Consistent intervention? Yes. They never demanded dominance? No. They never concealed strength? No. They never concealed weakness either. The younger delegate processed that. Most species specialized in one projection, power or vulnerability. Humans displayed both, deliberately. Ambassador Elias Ward stood on the observation deck again. The gas giant below churned endlessly. Vel-Tor joined him. "The galaxy calls your species Alliance Catalyst," Vel-Tor said. Ward nodded slightly. "I have seen the classification." "You changed galactic doctrine." Ward shook his head. "No, we adapted to it." Vel-Tor studied him carefully. "You understood alien fear." "Yes." "You used that understanding strategically." "Yes." "Was that calculated from the beginning?" Ward looked out at the storms. "Empathy is not random. It is pattern recognition applied to emotion." Vel-Tor absorbed the statement. Pattern recognition, not weakness, not sentiment, analysis through feeling. News from distant sectors continued to confirm the shift. Former rival species began exchanging scientific data. Military drills became cooperative exercises. Even minor disputes were mediated before escalation. Human diplomats were often requested as neutral facilitators, not because they were dominant, because they were trusted. Trust had become their currency. But the galaxy was not naive. Several species continued to monitor humans closely. Dependence risk increasing, one intelligence report warned. Vel-Tor reviewed that file as well. Yes, humans were central to many systems now. Shared infrastructure relied on their engineering frameworks. Shared communication grids used Terran encryption architecture. But the difference was clear. Humans had offered integration, not imposed it. Every species had signed willingly. During the first anniversary of the Accord, a final council session convened. Not emergency, not crisis, routine. That alone was historic. The elder representative who once questioned humanity addressed the chamber. "We feared their aggression." Pause. "We misjudged their strength." He turned toward Ward. "You weaponized something we never evolved." Ward remained silent. "You weaponized empathy." The chamber did not react with alarm. It reacted with recognition. Vel-Tor reflected on that phrase later. Weaponized empathy.
It sounded dangerous. It was. Because empathy allowed humans to map alien fears precisely, to anticipate reactions, to design responses that reduced hostility. It was psychological warfare without destruction, influence without coercion, and once established, nearly impossible to reverse. On the outer edge of known space, long-range sensors detected movement again. Unknown signatures, faint, distant, potential new threat. The alert reached the Unified Defense Network instantly. Joint fleets mobilized, shared data streams activated. No panic, no fragmentation. Ward stood in the central chamber as reports flowed in. Veltor observed him, calm, focused, human. "You are not afraid?" Veltor asked quietly. Ward answered honestly, "I am." Veltor tilted his head slightly. "And yet you act." "Yes." "Why?" Ward turned toward him. "Fear tells us something matters." Veltor processed that slowly. For humans, fear was not paralysis, it was motivation. The joint fleet assembled faster than any single empire could have managed alone, not because humans commanded it, because they had convinced others to stand together long before this moment. That was their real strength, preparation through connection. As the joint fleet entered formation, Veltor made a final log entry in the Council archive. Initial classification of humans as predator species was incomplete. He paused. Human dominance does not emerge through conquest. Another pause. It emerges through sustained alliance building. He finalized the entry. Ambassador Ward looked across the chamber one last time before deployment. Multiple species stood ready, former rivals, former skeptics, now allies. No forced unity, no fear-driven obedience, shared purpose. Ward gave a single instruction: maintain formation. The fleet moved as one. Veltor watched the stars shift as the joint armada entered transit. He remembered the first smile, teeth displayed, misread as a threat. He understood now. It was not a predator's warning. It was an invitation. The galaxy had accepted, and it would never return to the old doctrine again, because the most dangerous species in the stars had not conquered the galaxy. They had connected it.